Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the UGA Sports.com All Things Georgia call-in show. My man Andy Stowe up in the top right with me, coughing away. And we've got Eddie from Acworth also in here. That's a sickly crew tonight, folks. We're going to try to get you through it. Eddie was having a sneezing fit before the show, so we'll try to get you through it as best we can. We've got our topics for tonight, guys. Top 3 impact freshman players on Georgia's
or transfer Paul, you're muted. Paul, he might be having some issues. Or transfers. We're thinking freshmen or transfers. So.
Okay,
excluding.
Yeah, excluding Etienne because we can't pick him.
Well, because we all will. Because we all will, right?
Right. We'll also talk about who we think could potentially replace McClendon, wide receivers coach, heading to Tampa Bay. We'll talk about that. The Braves, who we think might be the MVP for the Braves this year, excluding from Eddie Mattingly, excluding Acuna because we would all pick him as well. A little bit about UGA baseball, big series win, 10 runs in 3 different games. First time it's happened since 2004. Thanks to Dave McStats for that info. And then we'll also touch on the UGA basketball program a little bit and see what's going on there. So, guys, we appreciate you joining us. Before we get started, though, Andy, how was your Valentine's Day?
Well,
damn, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Go to Andy on that one. I was at home by myself, so go to Andy on that one.
That was bad. That was on me. That was on me.
How was your Valentine's Day with the wife and the new kids and all? I mean,
you really want to know?
Yeah, how was it? Yeah.
I ordered some edible arrangements 3 days prior to get delivered to Nicole's work with a custom card. They did not answer the phone, did not get delivered. I went to the one near my house. They also they're a private franchisee. They don't communicate. So it was great. It was great. It really was, Andy. Yeah, it was great.
That's called an epic fail.
It was an epic fail. Yeah.
So it was like yours was about the same as mine. So
yeah, it was.
I did no work. I didn't have to put any work in at all to do all that. So good job. So.
Yeah, guys, if you're watching us, make sure you're letting us know where you're watching us from. It makes the show go by a ton faster and better. If you put in your comments as well, we'll put them up on the screen and we'll just chit chat. So, we ran through our topics, and as always, you guys will lead the show, right? In the comment section, you'll let us know what you want to talk about. We've got Jackson Barber already on here from the old X, the old Elon machine, says thoughts on Mike White. I'm tired of losing in basketball. John Radford said Braves, we have 10 months to decide. Interesting. And then our man Beyond Creative says happy Sunday to us. Appreciate that. Happy Sunday to you, Beyond Creative. Glad you're here with us. All right, guys, let's jump into it. That was 3 minutes of an intro. We did a great job. We're talking about impact freshmen or transfers, excluding Etienne, top 3. Since I am the host, I'm picking first. I'm going Nasir Johnson. Guys, if you haven't looked up Nasir Johnson and who this kid is, I think he is – this is tough, right? Defensive tackle. So the thought process, he's from Dublin, Georgia. Mm-hmm. Thought process here is you want to compare him to those great defensive tackles that have come through Georgia recently. That's unfair to Nasir Johnson, okay? That's unfair to him. I will say, though, I think he is going to be he's going to be an impact player, I believe. Now, freshman year, that's tough because we haven't even gone through spring practice yet to see where these guys are really stacking up. I will say that's my first pick, and I think it's a good one. I really do.
Can I ask you a question about it, Paul? So I'm not disputing your pick. I just have a question. So, and I know Kirby rotates guys in, so that's completely fair, right? So he's probably going to see the field, but he's literally listed on what I'm looking at as 4th on the depth chart. Warren Brinson, Jordan Hall, Jordan Thomas, and then him. So you really think he's going to have that much of an impact?
Yeah. Who's making this depth chart right now?
Well, I'm just saying as it stands right now, right? Okay. I mean, and that'll change. I understand.
I would also like to argue with you, Eddie, that we did this before last season, and my impact freshman was the impact freshman. So, just
refresh my memory. Who was it? I really
the kicker. Yeah.
Okay.
And you guys laughed at me then, so just saying.
I was with you on that. I was with you on that pick. So,
Andy, since you didn't rebuttal against my pick, I'll let you go next.
Okay, well, I'm kind of going low-hanging fruit here, but I mean, you have Ellis Robinson going because you got to think about it. Oh, there you go, James Caraway. Ellis Robinson, Kamari Lassiter is gone, and now he's going to be fighting Julian Humphrey and Daniel Harris for playing time. And I just think if he, they're throwing out names like Champ Bailey with this guy. If you are throwing Champ Bailey out there, who I think is the best player I've ever seen in college. If you're throwing a guy out there, I like it. So to me, he's low hanging fruit, but I think he's going to be playing. I think he'll be playing early and often. So.
Yeah, there's not many guys that have had as much hype as him.
Yeah,
coming into this, like to the point where he's also top 3 on almost every recruiting service. That rarely happens for a corner, because to kind of refresh everybody's memory, what Rivals is doing, we're associated with Rivals. You've also got the other ones as well. What they're trying to do with their 5 stars, guys, is they're trying to project, and it's kind of weird, right? But they try to project first-round picks in the NFL draft. Yeah. So that's what they're doing. If they're saying this kid is the 2nd overall player, then they are predicting, by way of doing that, saying that he should be a second pick overall in his draft. So that's where they're thinking Ellis Robinson. I mean, top 3 is crazy for a defensive back, especially a corner. You just don't see it very often. And from everything I've heard about the kid, hard worker, keeps his head down, like no trouble.
Everything you want, right?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, great pick, Andy. I left that one right. I left it
low hanging fruit. It definitely.
Right. I went a little deeper. I dove deeper, but you took it. Somebody was going to take him. Right. Yeah. We can take the same guys as well. We're not out here trying to pick 9, but that's a great pick. Great pick.
Yeah,
I think
he's and not to mention that, but I mean, the highlights we're seeing, he's making George Pickens like catches on the defensive side of the football. I mean, just incredible athlete. So I love that pick, Andy. It's great.
Yeah. What you got, old EFA?
I'm going to start with the low-hanging fruit, as Andy likes to call it as well. Now, I'm going to go with KJ Bolden. I think this kid is a massive gift for Georgia. I think we got the better of the guys from Buford. I know Jake Pope's coming in. I understand. But KJ Bolden may be the best athlete in the country coming to Georgia next year. And he's going to get on the field. He's going to make impact plays.
You think
they make it a little bit? I mean, he's listed now, obviously, behind Malachi Starks, right? But they're going to find a way to get this kid on the field somehow.
Here's a question for you guys, and this is such a hypothetical, right? Because we don't know yet. This is just for fun right now. We're in the dog days of the winter, and we're pulling along as best we can. The fun thing is to kind of project these guys. Who do you think sees the field first, Ellis Robinson or KJ Bolden?
Ellis Robinson.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think Ellis Robinson.
I think Ellis Robinson may start game 1.
That's a crazy take, but it's not that crazy.
It's not that crazy.
It's not crazy. And walk us through that thought process, Andy. You can't just say that.
He's coming in. He's going up against guys that are not starters yet. He's not like he's coming in to go up against Kamari Lassiter. Kamari Lassiter is gone. He's coming into a spot that's wide open. Not to mention, you have a new DBs coach. So you don't have somebody that's got this preconceived notion of who started last year and who's moving up. He's coming into an empty slate. And if that guy, I've seen his clips like y'all were talking about, if he is as good as they say he is and his clips look, he may be playing day 1.
So. Not to mention going into the spring, he's already done this once. Who knows if Julian Humphrey's even here when we start in the fall? You may say, "Whoa, this guy's pretty good. I'm out of here for real this time."
What would that be? The
third time? That'd be at least the third.
I mean, for real, like he's like gone. Yeah. So I think Andy's right on that. Absolutely.
But with that being said, when you're talking about KJ Bolden, he's going up against Dan Jackson and Ja'Cory Thomas, and those guys, nothing against them, they're not Javon Bullard. So who knows?
Right.
I mean, he may be right there at it too.
So we've had some guys in the chat, and I want to put this up now that it's my turn again. You guys can't steal them. We've got a lot of Justin Williams in the chat. Yeah. Okay. We've got Justin Williams. We've also got don't sleep on DeMello. DeMello Jones.
Next
DeMello Jones. Hey, Fred says, good seeing you guys. We appreciate it, Fred. Chris Taylor also liked your pick. What's up, CT? Justin Williams again. We see him. DeMello Jones again. So there's some names out here we haven't touched on yet. Man, as much as oh boy. Okay, this is tough, guys. Because as much as I really, really like Justin Williams, I just don't see where does he get on the field?
That's the problem. I think he's too far behind. Yeah.
You got Small, Raylan Wilson, and Tony Bowles listed now ahead of him. I mean, I'm just
Troy
Bowles.
Yeah.
Troy Bowles. I'm sorry.
You're good.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to beat those guys out. I think they're just way ahead of him.
We got C.J. Allen, Jalen Walker,
Yeah,
Kyle, Raylan Wilson. I mean, there's 4 guys right there.
Yeah.
I mean, and Troy Bowles looked good in his limited playing time that we saw.
Right.
So that's the only concern I have with Justin Williams. If there was like free roam for a freshman to start and every position was open, I think that Justin Williams would have a good shot at it. That's the only stop I have with him. So with that being said, I'm not going with him. I'm not going to Mela Jones. You guys can go with both of those. Where's my list at? I think I lost my list, boys. I'm in trouble.
Well done. Well prepared.
Yeah, I've lost my list.
Yeah, that's great.
Hey, Andy, go ahead with your next one. I've lost my list. This is good.
Well, my next one was going to be KJ Bolden, but I'm going to skip over him. And my next guy's going to be London Humphreys because he is.
You went so you went transfer style.
I went transfer because 6'2", 200 pounds, runs a 4.41 40, and he broke Jalen Ramsey's 200-meter record. I think he is going to be that guy that can just run down the field. He's not going to be the new lad. I know everybody wants to compare those guys. He's not. And that's the only thing that's kind of the same, really, because lad's more of a 50 guy. And but yeah, no, I think London Humphreys is going to come in and he's going to help stretch that field. You know, maybe we didn't have that guy last year that could stretch it. So I like London Humphreys.
I'm glad you left this for me because I was going to go with him third, but I'll take him second because I'm afraid where Eddie's going here. Colby Young.
Damn it. All right.
6'5", 215. The last kid.
Are you picking him? Is that your pick?
Yeah.
Paul?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
The last kid that Georgia got from Miami that had 10 touchdowns in his career, and that was around 6'5", 215. Lawrence Cager.
Lawrence Cager was great.
Balled in Athens. I think this kid, who's the last? Remind me, please enlighten me. Last 6'5" kid for Georgia that, just balled out.
Brock Bowers.
Okay, so tight end.
Yeah.
Tight end. I also like Colby Young for the reason that he started off. I mean, he's from New York, went JUCO. He's like made himself. He's different. He's absolutely different. And I watch this film and I'm like, man, this guy can go and high point a ball, and just go into an end zone like George Pickens, like Lawrence Cager, Javon Wims, like those guys. It kind of reminds me of them. And a lot of those guys were transfers. So yeah. I think Colby Young, as much as London Humphreys, and I like London Humphreys, don't get me wrong. I think he got maybe overly hyped in the portal process, if that makes sense. I like Colby Young. He's under the radar. Nobody's talking about him. If you're going to the water cooler, nobody's talking about Colby Young. They're talking about Humphreys because he was the one that was hyped up so much. Colby Young's under the radar. Doesn't have to worry too much, and come in and just dominate. I like that.
The reason I went Humphreys is because of the speed, the straight line speed. Yeah,
sure.
Colby Young's a 4.6.5 type guy, 4.7. So we haven't had a stretch the field type guy, and I think
who are you going to put in the corner of the end zone when you need a ball?
Exactly.
For sure. No, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. But for the home run, I won't. We haven't had a home run guy in the last couple of years. So
and love rah to death. A couple injuries though.
Yeah.
So Colby could step in there, and it's not like it's Georgia locks it down with 3 wide receivers and that's all they play the whole game. They rotate them, like crazy. So he'll see the field, very much so. Eddie, what you got?
Well, I mean, you took mine. Mine was Colby Young as well, but
good pick.
I'll take it one step further. That's your Marcus Rosemy-Jack Saint replacement. That's what that is. And
I like that.
By the way, he had 47 receptions, 563 yards, and 5 TDs with a garbage quarterback in Miami. And that's better than your London Humphreys pick.
It is,
Andy. It's a lot better. And he's listed second on the depth chart right now. I know these depth charts don't mean anything right now, but that's a chance to play right there. I like his size, his ability to use his body to get open and that kind of thing. And you're right. High pointing the ball right there at the end zone. Give it to that guy. I love Colby Young.
Right. Yeah, I'm a big fan of his. Didn't know much about him during the season, but he's one of those guys that coaching staff looked in on. Obviously, he's putting up numbers. Eddie just read them to you. He's not.
And he can block downfield. That's the other thing. Like Marcus Rosemy-Jack saying, that's why they loved and why I loved him. One of my favorite players. He just laid his body on the line, and Colby Young does that.
Ken from Cummings says you're all overlooking the one player that will be a player, and it's ETN. So at the beginning of the show, we all said we're not going to choose ETN.
He's into the whiskey already. It's obvious.
Yeah, we would choose ETN. Chris Taylor's talking about Ladd and London Humphrey's exciting whites. That picture of the wines in the grocery store. I love that. Andy, go ahead, my friend. I'll let you go again.
Well, I had KJ Bolden. Again, low hanging fruit. KJ Bolden, the guy. He's like I said, he could be starting day one. We don't know. He may be.
Man, so you really went chalk as hell on your picks, didn't you?
I did. When Eddie said impact freshmen or transfers, I was like, okay, who's got potential to start this year? And to me, there's only two that could start.
I mean, I get it. I mean, those were two on my radar too, but I was trying to go a little deeper, much like Paul. But it's hard not to overlook those guys. Those guys are going to be the impact players, right?
Yeah, they are the two freshmen that could be starting day one. Are there any, or is there any other freshmen that could start day one? I mean, I'm looking at the list and I don't see one. I mean, unless you have injuries, maybe at halfback, ETN goes down, but outside of if everyone's healthy, they're the only two that can start.
I think, gentlemen, I'm about to steal Eddie's third pick too. I think because I looked at the way he looked down at his paper when you said running back. Nate Frazier. Is that your pick?
Nope.
Damn. Okay. Reason for Nate Frazier, right?
That's going to be tough. You got to explain.
Okay. I'm jumping. Let me go. Let me cook. How many times last year did Georgia go to its fourth string running back? A good bit. I mean, there's a lot of times that Cash Jones was in there. Okay. And Nate Frazier, man, they love this kid. Okay. Mm-hmm. ETN is going to be the primary back, but there's always a secondary back. And then you go, okay, well, what about Branson Robinson? Sure. But we don't know. We don't know.
No.
Okay. And there's no clear cut. There's no way to know with him. Andrew Paul, I like him.
I like him too.
I like him. And then Rob he's like a hammer out there. Dude's just massive. Nate Frazier brings a different aspect than any of those guys. So you pair him up. I think he starts to see more playing time. And I'm not saying at the beginning, oh man, this is a Big Hoss just came in with one. But we're missing out on here. We're missing out. Big Hoss did. He said Xavier McLeod, that transfer from South Carolina, and then Urosek. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Man, can you look that up for me, Andy? Urosek. Can we help the fans out with the correct? Yeah, correct. If I could even say correct.
That's right. You said it correctly. That's correct.
Yeah. Is it Urosek?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Both of those guys. Urosek, his production is Stanford.
Again, though, McLeod, I looked at McLeod and he jumped out at me too. But you got Jamal Jarrett, Kristen Miller, and Stackhouse.
There's a long way to go. And that's the same thing with Urosek.
He's got a way to go. And again, I know he rotates guys in, but that's a lot to overcome right there. But I'm not arguing it, Big Hoss, but I see what you're saying.
No, I like
Urosek's kind of that same way too.
Urosek, when we were talking about this, I was like, he's the guy. But then I was like, well, God, he's got a long way to go to get to that.
I don't think he does. I think he's top two. I think he's top two tight end.
You think he's ahead of Jaden Waddell?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
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 Okay.
You think he's ahead of Pierce Sperling?
Yeah.
Wow.
Ooh. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they
brought him in to sit.
They brought him in for a reason,
Yeah, they're not bringing him in to sit. He's going to be out there playing. He's going to be out there playing. That's a damn good pick. We looked over. We glossed over him. Damn. You still have a chance to make up for that, Eddie. You do have the last pick here. You could pick Urosek, and really, I mean, you probably could save your ass a good bit because he's going to see the field a good bit.
What am I in last place? I mean,
I'm just giving you insider info here.
Okay.
We all skipped over it. You could look really good by picking him, but I think you're going somewhere else.
I'm not going him. Sorry. But it has been mentioned. I will say I'm going DeMello Jones, and the reason I'm going, Paul, will you just relax and let me explain this? Okay.
Yeah. You did the same thing with my Nate Frazier picks. I don't want to hear it.
I have some questions. I didn't make a face and almost vomit like you just did.
All right, Fair. What you got?
Did you watch the state championship with Swainsboro?
Baller.
Absolutely dominated the game in a losing effort, but dominated the game. And here's where I think he makes an impact. Punt returns. I think they're going to put him back there, and he's going to make an immediate impact because we need somebody like that. I know Evans did that great punt return against Alabama. That's all we saw. DeMello Jones can return punts, okay? And he is a fantastic kid at doing that. I think he sees the field like that. Plus, I love his name, DeMello. I mean, that's just great.
Yeah,
that is a name.
John helped me out here. Marlon Brown.
Marlon
Brown, another big wide receiver for Georgia. Yeah. This is tough. This is from John. He says, I have a question for Eddie. Who was the first to transfer out after spring? That's tough. I don't know. I mean,
holy cow.
Let's wait till spring on that, John, and let's start getting some intel.
And why me? Why me?
Yeah. Well, Eddie, you might have mentioned him earlier.
Yeah, I know. Julian.
Yeah. He could be. Yeah. 4 times the charm. So.
Our man Garrett Keys in the house. What's up, Garrett? Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. I think all those are solid picks. I think Urasek is probably one that we all overlook, though, and we're going to look back on it and say he probably should have been maybe one first or second overall pick. I really do.
I asked you guys on the text, and you kind of shot back at me, Paul, about why they brought him in. Do you think they brought him in because they think Delp is not the guy?
No, I don't think that's the case. But once you get past Delp,
you got Lucky, Pierce Sperlin, lost.
You got some younger guys.
Lucky's been injured. We don't really know what we have in him, right?
Right.
So
you've got a younger tight end room. So kind of bringing a veteran presence. And he's, obviously has to be some sort of smart coming from Stanford. So bringing an elder, if you will, into the mix. Georgia lost a lot of tight ends, guys. In the past couple of years, they had a lot of transfers. They lost Darnell Washington. They lost Brock Bowers. They've been lower on that number than they've wanted to be. So this isn't anything crazy that they brought him in. They wanted to get to that. I think it's 6? They wanted to get up one scholarship.
That's 6
on those tight ends. So that's what you do. Let's see. What was the next topic, guys? What were we going on?
Well, we're talking about the Georgia football team. Why don't we talk about that coach that just left and who we're going to
Thank you, Andy. Yeah. That came out of a left field, if you will. Yeah. Brian McClendon going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Same position, right, Andy?
Yeah, he's the passing game coordinator and he's the wide receivers coach.
What does that even mean?
Position.
What is that?
I don't know. We can Google it, but I think it's basically setting up the.
That's gotta just be a title, and I don't know coaching. I might need to ask Coach Don in this. That has to be a title that just gets you more money, Eddie. Like passing game coordinator, and running game coordinator, and then you have the offensive coordinator. Because what are you all sitting in a room together, and the offensive coordinator sitting there, and he goes, "All right, B-Mac, can you give me some passing plays, please?"
Yeah. Let me coordinate these passing plays for you.
Yeah. And then, hey, Mr. Run Game Coordinator, can you give me the run games as well? The run plays as well? Oh, okay, I'll merge both of those together and I'll make my. No, I think it's just I could be totally wrong on that, but I think it's just.
I also think this is part of what we're seeing in college football, and this is going to happen more and more and more. The NFL gives you breaks. You have time off. You have time to spend with your family. You're not on the road recruiting. You're not dealing with a transfer portal. You're not dealing with NIL. All this shit on top of everything they've already been doing. They've already been grinding, right? And I just think this is the beginning of the end for some of these coaches, that they're going to look to the NFL. And even if it's I would say some of them, this is a lateral move. Some of them take a move underneath what they're doing now in college to get to the NFL and have that time to just decompress that they don't get in college football. It's become ridiculous. It really
my first thought was, I wonder if B-Mac called up his old buddy Thomas Brown.
Yeah.
I was like, man, how do you like coaching in the NFL?
Yeah.
And Thomas was like, man, it's a little different.
Yeah.
It's a little different up here.
Great point.
Yeah. Because B-Mac, for me, like, I feel like he's close to that next stepping. Like, he could be that next OC we talk about next year in the NFL.
Yeah.
Right. Thomas Brown got it. He's an OC now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the trajectory I see for Brian McClendon is very much the same as Thomas Brown, and no knock on him, right? Better family life. He's got a family. He's got kids. Like if that's what it is, that's what it is, you know. And you're not going to some terrible town. You're going to Tampa. Great weather, you know. You've got Mike Evans down there. So if you boost his
Baker, he's gonna have Baker, right?
Right. Yeah, you boost Evans' production a little bit. Next thing you know, hey, the OCs are starting to come around. And then after you're an OC for a couple of years, hey, young up and coming head coach candidate. Like, you know, I could see that path for BMAC. I really could. And, you know, congrats to him for doing it. The big question, though, is there's now a spot open on Georgia's coaching staff. They've got some in-house options. They've got some former dogs. Everybody has their opinion on the wide receivers coach. Now, the one name that has been passed around more than probably anybody. Yeah. How long is this name? I don't even have to say the name, guys. How long has this name been passed around as potentially every time there's a wide receivers coach opening? Past 10 years?
Since Rick was absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
It was when Rick was still present in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about Hines Ward. Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong. What has Hines Ward done, Andy, in his coaching career?
He got fired from the XFL, right?
Okay. All right. So,
but he's worked for the Steelers. I mean, he's done some stuff with the Steelers. It's not like he hasn't coached. He has, and he's currently.
That was the knock on him, right? That was the knock. There was no coaching experience.
I think that was with Kirby. Yeah,
he's got it now. I mean, he's got some coaching experience in the NFL, and currently he's a free agent. He's sitting out there. The other name is Terrence Edwards. Okay.
But he just got the head coaching job.
And that's exactly right. He just got the position at Mount Vernon, isn't that right?
So, yeah.
Head coaching job. Now that's all high school experience that Terrence Edwards has got. I mean, how do you argue against Hines Ward coming in and just any coaching role at the University of Georgia? I just think that's huge.
He's one of my all-time favorite Georgia Bulldogs.
Absolutely.
I love that guy. When we beat Florida in 97, you know, that Hines Ward package, you know, he was quarterback and halfback and wide receiver. He did it all. So
James says, do high school kids even know who Hines Ward is? I think so.
I think so.
Why does that matter? Do high school kids know who Mike Bobo is? I mean, no. I mean, they don't. I mean,
I think he's talking about like his playing career. I think, yeah. You look up Hines Ward, you'll know who he is. Here's a question, and here's another name that's been thrown around. Chris Taylor says, anyone like or strongly dislike Joe Cox? Why or why not? Any opinion on that?
I mean, I think if he got hired, it would be fine. I don't think it would be terrible. I think it's ultimately going to be for Georgia to go out and get the next level wide receivers. I think they're going to have to start paying more at that position. But I mean, I would be fine with Joe Cox. I don't strongly dislike or like him, though. I mean, I'm like, whatever.
So if I'm correct, Joe Cox just took a job
with Alabama.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's 3 weeks ago, maybe. So yeah, I mean, he's
what is he there at Alabama?
Tight ends coach.
Okay,
but he was with Bobo twice.
Colorado State, and
he's another guy. You know, same age as I think he's the same age as Thomas Brown and McClendon might be a little older. That's kind of making his way up the rankings.
Yeah.
Joe Cox, nobody liked him when he was a quarterback at Georgia, but I've seen he's able to recruit, and it looks like he's able to coach. Obviously, if you're able to get a job at Alabama. We've got John waiting in the background. Let's get John in here real quick. Big John, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, John?
What's up?
Hey, I put it in the chat. Jimmy Smith, former Cedar Grove High School head coach at Southern Arkansas. Dude can recruit, knows the Atlanta area. I think his personality is very, very much in tune with what Brian McClendon had as far as making a relationship with these elite wide receivers, and he turned the Cedar Grove program into a juggernaut.
Yeah,
now, is he still at Arkansas?
I
think he is. Yeah. So if you guys don't know who Jimmy Smith is, like John just said, he put Cedar Grove on the map. I'm talking. He was pushing kids out of there left, right, front, center. And then I think, oh man, I'm going to be wrong on this. I think he took a job at Georgia State.
They went to Georgia State.
Right. And then Pittman obviously knew him from the recruiting ranks. And snagged him to go over with him to Arkansas. Hell of a coach. So that Georgia has their picks here.
Let me throw a name out that I read earlier on the forums. James Coley.
Yeah, I know. I saw that too.
I'd rather have him than James.
I don't understand that one. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I'd rather have Joe Cox. I just got PTSD with James Coley.
But he's not going to be calling your plays.
He's an excellent recruiter. He's
by far out of every name we've just named here, Andy, by far the best recruiter of any of those we just named.
I mean, it's not out of the realm. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be shocked with that. And would you be upset? I'm like, oh, okay, I'd be fine with it.
Paul, let me ask you a question because you're closer to the program than we are. Kirby Smart, he plans for everything. He's got a plan already for this, right? I mean, he's already thought in his mind, if Brian McClendon leaves, here's what I'm doing, right? Don't you think?
Sure,
or is this
just
caught him off guard and he's got to find somebody?
No. I'm sure Kirby probably for every coach is like, if he were to leave, this is who I would call.
The guy, yeah.
And then that probably changes periodically, as he gets new information on these guys. So I'm sure, he's got a short list for every position coach, every offensive coordinator, defensive, every coordinator. He's got a short list. Yeah. So this didn't catch him off guard. No. It's going to be interesting to see who they bring in because for wide receiver coach, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Andy, you're the stats guy. Most of the time, and John, you can correct me if I'm wrong too. Most of the time, that wide receivers coach is a recruiter first. I mean, he can coach obviously, but like his main attraction is his ability to recruit.
Like Dylan.
Yeah. And I think that's why you could see James Coley coming back just because of that. I mean, and it's possible. Yeah, because he can. I mean, I think it's going to be ultimately about how good of a recruiter they are. So,
question, if you don't mind, while I'm on here.
Yeah, man.
How what's it really going to take to change the schedule as it is now, as far as the yearly schedule of college football? Is it going to be a major coach jump into the NFL? Is it? I mean, Nick Saban's gone. Is it going to be a Kirby Smart or Jim Harbaugh did it, and Harbaugh wants to go back because he wants to win the Super Bowl. I get that, but you can't tell me. I mean, how long ago was it where the NFL was the grind and college football was the? I mean, is it Kirby Smart? Is Kirby Smart the linchpin to get it changed? I mean, obviously there's other factors, but I mean,
I don't know if Kirby's the one, because you kind of just said it yourself. Saban retired and Harbaugh left, two of the top 5 coaches in the game, and nothing has changed. Right? There's been really no talk of anything changing since both of them have stepped away from the NCAA. So now, I think what you'll get, John, to answer that question is you're going to get Saban, obviously, on College Game Day, and they're going to ask him, like the grind of the schedule and things like that. That might be where you start getting some more conversation around this, if you will. Right now, it's for the most part, it's they're not doing a ton right now, so the conversation wouldn't pop up at this moment. Right. But you get into the season, and you have like I said, Saban on game day, Pat McAfee or Kirk Herbstreit, somebody's going to ask him a question about the grind of the season schedule, and that's maybe where that conversation takes place. But I don't know how you change it right now. Maybe you limit the transfer portals and the amount of times that it's open and closed and things of that nature. But I don't know if there's a direct correlation to, like, if Kirby was to leave, because we just saw Saban and Harbaugh both jump and nothing changed.
It's not going to trigger anything.
Yeah. It's just crazy. And we're talking about, and again, who knows who's going to, we're talking about people leaving. Like Julian Humphrey could potentially be at his third school.
Yeah.
By the fall.
No, Julian Humphrey's been at Georgia.
He's been at Georgia. Yeah.
Who am I talking about? The name's mistaking me. And maybe I'm there's somebody on our roster that's transferred twice already, no? Or am I completely off base?
I'm sure there is. I just can't think of them off the top.
Georgia's roster?
Yeah.
He's already transferred twice?
So he transferred to Georgia or from?
I'm completely off base then, if what I was trying to think, or it's escaped me. But I think that my question to Eddie was, who's leaving? It's going to be Pierce.
In the tight end room, Pierce Sperling?
Yeah, we're not going 3 deep on a tight end unless there's an injury, God forbid. But
yeah, like but I think it's just a little too early to speculate who's going.
Yeah,
I mean, he could have a hell of a spring,
Yeah.
So like that's where just to be fair to the kids. I'm not projecting anybody until we get to the spring and start hearing, because they could just jump off the page. We could see him again, and Pierce Spurlin's grown 6 inches. He's 7'2" and he's 280 pounds. And we're like, whoa, there he is. He's not going anywhere.
But I think, John, to answer your question a little bit, I think changes are coming after next year. We're gonna see this 12-game playoff for the first time next year, right? And I think part of that change is going to be they're going to realize these championship games, SEC championship, Big 12 championship, those games are meaningless and stupid, and they're going to realize. Yes, I heard the other day, well, they make tons of money. Well, people, who gives a crap about the SEC championship now, right? You want to – Georgia really would be in a better position sitting at home, not playing in that game, going in as like a 7 seed and playing a home game or a 5 seed, whatever, playing a home game. So that's going to change right there.
So you think the championship games are going away?
I do, absolutely, 100%. I think they're going away. They're going away, Andy. I really firmly believe that.
I don't think so.
They keep talking about the money. The money's going to decrease because people are not going to go to these games anymore because they're meaningless. Okay, great. We got the SEC championship. If you got a 10-3 LSU that beats a 12-0 Alabama, yeah, that means something because LSU wins, they're going to get in. Okay, that means something. But that's going to be a rarity. That's not going to happen that often. And secondly, John, the other part of your question, I think until football breaks away from the NCAA, they develop their own league, they have a commissioner and all that stuff, that's when it changes. And until then, it's going to be a mess. But we got to have some rules in place. We got to have somebody who says this is how we got to do things, right? And we're not there yet.
Another thing, and I know you got another thing to throw a wrench in it. What's going to stop somebody? And I don't know the money. Let's just say it's $2 million. What's going to stop somebody from like Caleb Downs, who's a surefire top 5 pick after this year, to say, you know what, I got a bag of money from Ohio State. I'm going to take off this next 8 months, and I'm just going to train and not risk injury, and I'm not going to play.
Nothing.
So that's what's going to end up. And then it's kind of like how the bowl games were. 10 years ago, everybody played the bowl game. Didn't matter if it was the Gator or the national championship. And now look where we're at. It's going to take one of those players that's like, I got money. I'm fine. I'm going to sit and rest 6-8 months and have one less season under off my body. You think every NFL team's going to be salivating over that?
Yep.
It's going to slip my mind. Maybe Garrett Key or James or Jermaine or Beyond or even Andy can help me out with this. There was a basketball player maybe 5 years ago that decided, hey, I'm not going to college. And he sat out
a year. Yeah.
I can't remember who it was, but his draft stock tanked. Like he was a top 5 pick, but then he did not do anything. Like he trained, like you said, John, and it's a little different with football, right? You've had 2 seasons. Yeah. It's totally different with that, but I can't remember who it was. His draft stock tanked. He was a top 5 prospect. And he was like, nope, I'm not going to college. I'm just going to sit out and maybe go play overseas is what he did. And he just never amounted to anything. I wonder who that was. But John, I appreciate you calling in as always, my friend. Take care of Carrollton for us, brother.
All right, man. See you.
Hey, man. Hey Paul,
I can't think of who that was.
Can you put Garrett Key's question up? He was asking about Brandon Streeter. Brandon Streeter was a quarterback for Clemson, and he was their offensive coordinator. And so he got fired. He's been an analyst here at Georgia for the past last year. Was it? Yeah, because we're opening up with Clemson this year, so it was almost like Kirby's playing some of that 4D chess. But yeah, so he was the OC there, and he got fired from Clemson. But yeah, he played ball there, and he coached running backs and quarterbacks in the OC there. So it makes a lot of sense to promote from within because and especially he was an OC. So that's
No, Kirby has his pick here. For sure. It's the litter is not dry. You're not getting the run of the litter, if you will, with this wide receiver selection as the coach.
So going back to what you said, Paul, I want to pick on this a little bit. Do you think the recruiting aspect outweighs the coaching aspect for this position?
At certain positions, yeah, I
No,
do.
at this one.
At wide receiver, yeah, I do.
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's more important than actually coaching the wide receivers and the passing coordinating bullshit.
You make it sound like he's only going to recruit and not coach at all.
No, that's not what I mean. I'm just saying the importance. It's more important to be a big recruiter as opposed to the wide receiver coach.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah,
Okay.
because if you're able to go recruit Evan Stewart or just name a 5-star
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
That guy
you're
would
able to go
be the best
you're able to
player
go
on the
get
field.
those guys, right?
If I
Those
coached him, he would be the best wide receiver on the field.
You
Right.
telling me Hines Ward can't go sit in that Marvin Harrison's room and say
I'm not
to
telling
him,
you can't. I'm not telling you can't. No. I'm sure he probably could, but we haven't seen it. We haven't.
that's
It hasn't
fair.
been.
Yeah,
We haven't seen that. So yeah, he could be the best recruiter of all time, but we haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like if you're going through positions, wide receiver for sure. So like because they're still going to coach, right? So it's not like we're saying this guy's just bringing him to campus and then they're not going to coach him. They can still coach ball. Okay, wide receivers one. Offensive line, you need to coach first and then recruit. I believe because it's hard to find offensive linemen in high school and truly find if they're a boom or a bust. So you have to be able to coach them up once they get on campus. Quarterback, it's a little bit of both. I think you could go either way with that.
So that's
Running
really
back.
interesting. What you're saying is it differs by position, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It flip-flops. I never really thought about that. That's interesting.
Todd Gurley, again, I could have been coaching Todd Gurley. He was going to be the best player in college football.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, Andy, you could not have coached Todd Gurley. So
only thing you say, let him play. That guy, you could
handing the ball. I mean, that's not
That's
coaching.
it. Hey, if I got him on campus, that was all I needed to do.
No,
So like
that's really interesting, though, Paul. I've never really thought about that. By position, it's recruiting over the coaching, and then it reverses when. Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. No, I think definitely there's certain positions you want a lead recruiter and coaching as a secondary, and some you want coaching as a lead and recruiting as a secondary. So I think it all depends. We've got old James Caraway here, guys. We'll bring him in. What's up, James, in the garage?
What's up,
Right.
guys?
No baby.
Babyless.
Yeah.
No, wife's got the baby.
All right. How you doing, James?
I'm good. I wanted to touch on kind of what was just said. I was listening to, Jim Donnan. He's always with Roddy, and he said, for your coaches, you want a OC and QB coach who can coach a DC, and then really you want recruiters as the main thing. And because the head coach is really going to, be coaching everybody up, but he's a big time coach, and he said, that's kind of the general thinking, and O-line coach as well. But you're looking for recruiters more than, they're all can coach, but
Right.
the job is recruiting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think and it kind of differs, right? Like for Georgia, they've taken this approach on the offensive line. Sam Pittman was a recruiter.
Right.
Yeah.
That man brought in studs, and now they've kind of taken this approach of where, don't get me wrong, Stacey Searles has brought in some guys too. Monroe Freeling's nothing to laugh at. He's a good player. But I think he's more of a coach than he is a recruiter. So it just varies. And I think you look at that, your staff by year basis and say, all right, how many guys do we know can go out there and help recruit this position, but we know he's a bang up coach. That's where I was getting at.
With all that being said, James, who would you like to see come in as a wide receiver / passing coordinator guy?
Really, I don't care. Whoever Kirby brings in is going to be.
Come on, that's ridiculous. Give us.
So tomorrow Kirby announces Eddie from Acworth is the new wide receivers coach. You're like, man, I've got all the faith. I've got all the faith in old Kirby.
I didn't know Eddie had people like that.
Hell of a recruiter. The guy's an ace of a recruiter.
Damn right.
He knows everyone around the state of Georgia. He talks to everyone, so he has the inside. So
we're just gonna sit.
I think Terrence Edwards. He coaches all the big time receivers. The thing is, we're never gonna get the top 5-star guy because we don't pay for that. We pay for big boys. So you can bring Jerry Rice in there. Unless Jerry Rice is gonna bring that money with him to the recruits. It's not going to happen. So Georgia works within the margins, develop a Lad McConkey, you get your Pickens here and there, your A.D. Mitchell. So, target those 150 to 300 top recruits and the receivers, and that's where they work.
So but here's the thing though, James, if you're targeting those guys, you gotta be able to coach a little
Where
bit.
you're going. Yeah, that's a really good point, Paul.
You gotta be able to coach.
Terrence coaches all these guys before they get to college.
He does.
That's what they do.
Yeah. Because the further you get down the
more
the prospect board, the more you got to develop. You know, so
that's a very good point, Paul. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
you know,
that's
so
D-Mac got a bad rap. It's like, oh, he's not getting these 5-stars. It's like, well, he's getting a lot of guys into the NFL, and Georgia's not going to get a ton of first rounders in the NFL, 1,000-yard receivers, but he's getting a lot of guys who, when they came in, you would have never said, oh, that guy's going to be in the NFL.
I think the stigma around Georgia and the wide receivers could potentially change this upcoming year, and that could be something we could talk about a little further in depth, maybe on another show. Is you're going to have Carson Beck probably go for, I don't know, 4,000, 4,500,
45.
Yeah. I mean, he could potentially hit 45. I think that could change some things, but it has been for a long time. Georgia's been running back you. I mean, you talk to any of these high school kids, they're like, what's Georgia known for? Well, they're running backs. You know, Todd Gurley, Nick Chubb, Sonny Michel, they just rattle them off. You know, James Cook, now that he's balling in the league. It's going to take a little bit for Georgia to switch it up.
Well, let me ask you this, Paul. So let's say that we go out. Let's say it's Terrence Edwards or whoever the new wide receivers coach is. And if that coach tells Kirby, I do not want to rotate 8 guys. I want 4 guys in there starting. And then when they get tired, they can get a breather, but they come right back. Is that Kirby's call to say rotate all of them, or is that the wide receiver coach's call?
I think that the wide receivers coach probably he's going to be asked about that in the interview, and whatever answer he has, it better align with Kirby's, right? Yeah. So probably continue to rotate him would be my guess, because it's Kirby's call at the end of the day. You know, who's getting in and getting out. So it'll be interesting, though. I think it'll be wrapped up by the time we have our next show, who the wide receivers coach will be, and we'll be able to deep dive into him and what he's been able to do. And who knows? I mean, there's some good names, guys. We talked about James Coley, Joe Cox, Terrence Edwards, Hines Ward, Brandon Streeter. 5 pretty solid names that you could add to your coaching staff.
And
so
I don't want to.
You're not talked about. So.
Yeah, James makes a good point. I mean, I kind of crapped on it, but it's Kirby Smart. I mean, we got to trust the guy, right? I mean, he's going to make the right choice. He always does, it seems like, right, James?
Yeah, and it's not like we're replacing a DC or OC.
Yeah,
so.
That's true. Yeah. It's not like a critical part of the team, right?
Yeah. But look, BMAC, and you'll see this over at UGAsports.com. They just had the Under Armour combine over in Carrollton, and Roddy, Jed, Trent, ton of guys were over there. There's a ton of new recruiting info on the vault. You got to go check it out. And they talked about BMAC to some of the top wide receiver recruits. And they're like, yeah, that's big time, you know, him leaving. So whoever it is has to come in and you know, get on the horn, if you will, and start contacting these kids early. I'm sure that, you know, Kirby will help, but you got to be able to get back out there and do the same thing BMAC was doing, which BMAC has always had a solid rep throughout throughout everything. So you've got to bring another guy that's as solid as him too. So James,
before you go, who's your one impact player that's different from everybody that we were named?
Oh, I did pretty much mention everybody that you guys were, but I'm going to go Sokovi. I just think maybe.
Oh, Sokovi White, huh?
I've heard, you know, they've been liking him early, but it's so early, but he can do a little bit of stuff that some of the other guys can't do. You know, London, I don't even know if he's better than Herrien Smith still. Herrien had a bad year. I really like Colby, but, you know, there's so many. So I'm trying to think of a guy who can maybe do a little bit different stuff that we haven't seen.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm very curious. This will be fun, too, to kind of revisit this. Maybe I'll have Andy write our picks down from this show, and we'll revisit this, I don't know, sometime in the summer and see how right or wrong we were on our picks. So,
well, Paul will be right? I mean, we know that. He's the guy, right?
Maybe.
I mean, just ask him.
Yeah, just ask me. James, as always, man, thank you so much for joining us. Take care,
James.
Yeah. And last thing before I go, Austin Riley MVP, 40 doubles, 40 home runs.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Ooh.
The goon.
Ooh, tough. I like that. Garrett Key said, speaking of running backs, did y'all see what Brian Herrien tweeted out? Really weird and crazy by him. Made a lot of UGA fans upset. Me too. Seemed out of character by him.
Yeah.
So I think has it since been deleted, boys?
He deleted it.
Yeah, he deleted
it. Yes.
But there are, unfortunately for him.
Guess what? Twitter lasts forever.
Yeah, screenshots. So he tweeted out yesterday, wish I never went to UGA, laugh out loud, wholeheartedly. And then right underneath it said, I get to UGA, it's like they're trying their hardest to not play me, and they know what I do on the field. It's been political since I got to college, NFL, XFL. I don't see running backs better than me, all caps, ever. I see a lot with opportunities, though. I don't know. I don't get that. No, like, really no reason to.
And you know what? I don't understand that either, because from a fan perspective, which is what Andy and I are, I loved Brian Herrien because he was
you had a really
like
good
a workhorse. Now, granted, Chubb was there, Michelle was there, all these guys were there in front. But when he came in, he just worked his ass off and got. Yeah. I mean, I remember the North Carolina game. He came in and scored. You remember that? That was Kirby's first game, and Herrien scored. I was like, "Who is this kid?" That was an awesome run. And from that point forward, I was a Herrien fan. I thought he was great. But I mean, to just crap now. Could have been a late night drunk tweet, whatever, and he deleted it since, but it wasn't a good vibe. I didn't like that at all.
Yeah. I don't understand it. And hopefully if I was Brian's PR team, I would tell him, hey, you need to reach out to the All Things Georgia call-in show on Sundays. Yeah. You need to reach out to, some other podcast that do these shows. You need to go, make right of this, because sitting there and saying that and then not tweeting anything else out, it's just nobody hated you when you were at Georgia.
I know.
Right? Why does this come out? You've been out of, when was the last time he played at Georgia? You've been out for like 4 years.
Yeah, it's been
4 or 5 years. Like, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. Just let it be, Brian.
And so once again, Chubb and Michelle, I mean, those are legendary running backs helping their cause, right? I mean, it wasn't come on. I mean, what is he going to start in front of Nick Chubb? I mean, is that what you wanted? That's not happening.
So if you're watching, Brian, or if somebody sends this to you, open invitation to come on the show, and we'll talk through it, brother. We'll talk through it. We'll see why you sent it out, and we'll walk through it piece by piece to see what's going on with that. Guys, we've got 7 minutes left. Football really took us, and I appreciate it, because I love talking football, even when there's really nothing to talk about, because that's when you have the fun. What else is on the docket, Andy?
Well, do we want to talk about UGA baseball? They swept the UNC Asheville Bulldogs this week. They took all 3 games. That was huge. They had 38 runs, 34 hits, 8 doubles, and 10 home runs. They hit 10 home runs in 3 games. And the crazy thing about those 10 home runs, Charlie Condon did not hit one of those. Yeah. So that's huge.
And Charlie, I know it's baseball, it's early, but you want to tune in and watch a major league prospect playing baseball. Charlie Condon is a badass. Tune in just to watch him play. That catch he made today should be number 1 on ESPN highlights.
Yeah, it has to be.
And then that Slade Alford kid, if you haven't heard about him,
he's great. Yeah.
Transfer from Mississippi State, guys. Starting off, leading off. I think got on base almost damn near every time he was playing. So
he hit 429 this week, 3 homers, 9 RBIs, and he scored 5 runs. So, yeah.
Hey, things might be turned around for old Georgia baseball. Good to see them at least starting off in a sweep, right? I think they haven't done that in a little bit. So,
hey, I have a question for you guys. So, we all know the score of the bowl game against FSU was 63-3, right?
Yeah,
damn. That seems like so long ago.
I know.
Yes, right.
It happened. Okay. And then yesterday, the softball team beat FSU 20-10. So that's 83-13. So is FSU now Georgia's bitch? That's my question to you guys.
You also would have to add on Georgia basketball beating FSU.
That's right. Earlier in the year. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That gets it even higher up.
FSU is Georgia's bitch, right?
There you go. Straight from Eddie from Acworth's mouth to your ears, folks. There you go. UGA basketball, speaking of, guys, in this last 5 minutes of the show, man, they've taken a turn. And I don't know how to fix this, Andy. How do you fix this?
Well, I will say this. Last year, when they were in these games, they were getting completely destroyed.
Yeah.
At least they are close in these games now. So I'm looking at it as like, okay, we have got to this next level, and now maybe next year we can move to another level, because I don't know. It's sad watching them. I mean, it's disheartening, but they're in all the games and they weren't last year. So I'm trying to take a positive. They're in the games now when they weren't. And hey, I think it's one step at a time. Maybe next year they can get a big guy that can be dominant down low, and then that will help everything.
Garrett Key says, legit question for UGA B-ball. Do they win a game the rest of the year? They have Vandy coming up. I'm looking at the schedule.
They lost to Arkansas on the road.
They did.
They've got to go to Vandy. Then they've got Auburn at home Saturday. That's tough. LSU on the road. A&M's coming to town again on Saturday, the Saturday after that. Then you've got Ole Miss and then Auburn again. Man, they need to right the ship against Vandy. They've got to. And you're throwing your hands up, Eddie, but let's not act like yeah, right here. Perfect, James. Thank you. James says, remember when we were talking about NCAA tourney a couple shows ago? Good times. Yeah, you're throwing your hands up. Yeah.
Win them all, Paul, right there. He's got them all.
Was that before the Florida loss, the first Florida loss? Was that before that? Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
That's what started it all.
It did.
They're just an immature team. They don't know how to win games yet. And that's what I'm chalking. Andy makes a great point. You know, last year we lose to Florida by 20 points, and we didn't do that, you know. Now, I did watch them lose to South Carolina by 10 points. South Carolina is a really good basketball team, but I don't know. It just seems to me it's the same old. They teased us with a 10-win run, and then we go 0-5. What are we, 0-5, 0-6, whatever we are now. And it's been ugly. And it's just, I don't know. It just seems to me like you rolled out all this goodwill and it's just gone now. Now, I'm not saying the ridiculousness of fire Mike White, move on. That's absurd to me. We got to give it another couple of years.
Nobody's on that train.
Oh, no, I've seen it. I've seen that, Paul.
Really?
I wanted to move on from Mike White. You know, oh yeah, because everybody's so impatient at this point. You know, it's like this is what we've been handed every year, it seems like, and it's time to move on. But I disagree with that 100%. Mike White needs to stay. He needs to at least 3 more years to see what we do with this guy.
3 more years?
Yes.
So 5.
What?
You want 5 years for him?
I said 3. Yes, 3 more from now. Absolutely.
Well, I say next year is kind of that.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe next year. Maybe next year.
If they go back down,
who's Georgia basketball going to bring in? They're going to be like, oh yeah, this is the guy. I mean, everybody
what's Coach K doing these days?
If we get Coach K in Athens,
like 95.
I'd still be awesome though. Could you imagine that Coach K?
I mean,
in his wheelchair on the sideline, and that'd be great.
What's he doing these days? You know, hey, why don't they? I know a guy who coached Dwayne Wade.
Let's get him back. Yeah,
I know a guy who coached Dwayne Wade. He's out there.
Relax. Mike White's fine. I mean, come on.
Just saying. There's coaches out there. Okay, so don't tempt me with a good time, Eddie.
Okay.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
Before we go, can I mention one thing right quick?
No, you can't. We're done.
This is big. This is legit good stuff.
Huge. Yeah.
Hang on. Let me find the link. Okay.
Meek's not coming. That's so stupid.
Oh, no. No. So my boss, Mike Compton at the Georgia Center, he is the vice president for the Touchdown Club of Athens. Okay. And in conjunction with the Classic City Collection, they put on the gala each year. So the gala will be April the 22nd, 2020. Well, hang on, that's April 22nd. God, they got the dates wrong on their own website. It's not April 22nd. It's coming up in April, and it's going to be all the money that they collect. It goes to the Classic City Collection, and so you can buy a table of 8 chairs for $10,000. So Eddie, we're getting in your range, but all of this money goes to the Classic City Collection. And so if you buy a table, you get a football player at your table. So it's Eddie disappeared because talking about $10,000, but the gala is very important. It will help with NIL, and that will be happening in April.
What else Andy, what else do I get with that?
You get a football player to sit at your table, and you get a meal. So it's basically just donating money. So is what it is. But it is, So
because I was going to ask you the price, and then you told us the price. Wow!
But if you bought one chair without buying a table, it's $750. So you would get a meal, and you get to take pictures. But yeah, straight up black tie event. It's it's really nice. But yeah, so the money goes to the Classic City Collection. So. And I will have the date, like I said, on their website. It says April 22nd, 2023. So that's clearly wrong. But yeah, so it's
what type of yeah. Chris Taylor is asking who's ever been. There's somebody that's watching this right now that's been. I know you have.
Mike, are you on here? If you're, I don't see his name.
Tell me what's. I mean, I've seen it. I've always wondered, right? I've always wondered what goes on with that. So good to know that it's affordable for some. You know?
For Eddie, if his internet works out here in Acworth.
With that being said, guys, we appreciate it so much, so much, and thank you for watching us this Sunday. We'll be back next Sunday to talk about. I'm going to go ahead and put it on the record. Talk about Georgia's new wide receivers coach.
Okay,
and probably some more Georgia basketball. Who knows?
And the Braves
own a black tie. No, I don't, brother. I don't own a black tie. I do not. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you next Sunday. Thanks again.